All the countries in Asia might speak different languages, but we have more in common than you think, and that couldn't be truer than with our food. In this show, same but different, we connect with other Asian food creators to discuss and cook dishes that have similarities but have been adapted to local flavor profiles. Today, we're talking to John all the way from Singapore, representing the Meatmen.
Hi everyone, I'm John from the Meatmen, and we make easy to follow recipes of Asian dishes. We are based in Singapore. Mostly we started our channel doing featuring the hawker dishes in Singapore.
What do you personally love about hawker cuisine?
The hawker cuisine in Singapore it's humbling because in Singapore we are known for we have high-end restaurants and stuff like that, but we also can eat fairly cheaply at the hawker centers, and it actually tastes really good. You don't have to spend a lot of money on food in Singapore, and you get really quality food.
Noodles is a big thing in Singaporean cuisine. It's a big thing in Filipino cuisine.
Yeah.
On our side, it came actually probably like you guys from Chinese influence. And Bihon is one of those that's actually really funny because in Malaysia, Singapore, Philippines, you actually just find the name Bihon just spelt indifferently, exactly.
Yeah. So for ours is Bee Hoon or Meatmen, which is following the Chinese Cantonese dialect.
Would you say there are a lot of different ways to make Meatmen or Bihon in your cuisine?
There are three types, there's the Cantonese version, which they actually put curry powder in it when the immigrants in Singapore brought back to Hong Kong. Then also there's the Malay version where they include Worcestershire sauce and ketchup. But my version of it, or our version of it, is Singaporean based. It's more soy sauce based, fish sauce, dark soy sauce, and we don't use curry powder or Worcestershire sauce.
I can't even say that properly.
So today the name of our dish is Xing Zhou Meatmen. Star region from before Singapore gained independence and we became Singapore.
Got it. And is it a popular dish that you'll find everywhere?
Yeah, you can definitely find it in the hawker centers. We have pork belly over here, then the rice vermicelli noodles, some vegetables, cabbage, carrots. So instead of prawns, we used pork belly. We prefer to use that. We added some seasoning to marinate the meat. Normally people use prawns, they use char siu, pork belly slices, lean pork belly. Actually, you can even switch it out with chicken. Actually, anything goes. And then now we are soaking the Bee Hoon.
Do most Singaporean dishes call for it to be pre-soaked and then cooked, or is it cooked straight into the broth?
We normally pre-soak it with hot water. Oh, eggs. So for our version, we did like a sliced eggs. We sliced it into strips. I don't think the hawker centers really do this egg strips. So stir frying the garlic, shallots for a little bit of fragrance, then the pork belly. Yeah, then we got the sliced cabbage, sliced carrots. I think these two ingredients are must-have, the vegetables in a Xing Zhou Meatmen. Chicken stock to add a bit of flavor. Yellow chives. This is something we added on our end. Yellow chives. Bean sprouts are normally being added. So fish sauce, dark soy sauce, light soy sauce, and Shaoxing wine.
Shaoxing wine is probably one of my favorite.
Yes, it's one of my favorite ingredients. It adds a really extra depth of flavor. And then the sliced eggs. So it's really a very simple dish. For home cooking, you can whip it up in less than 30 minutes, 20 minutes. And fried shallots. To me, Fried shallots can be added to anything. I love fried.
I literally add fried shallots to absolutely anything. I'd even put it in ice cream, I don't care.
Textural contrast, right?
Correct. So at no point is this kind of like a saucy dish.
No.
It's very kind of light, and then it just evaporates quickly, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Very different. So I think here what's great is you see a lot of the importance of textural integrity.
Yeah.
In terms of the vegetables and when they're added, and you're not boiling anything at any point. Whereas I'll show you, I'll talk you through our version, very different.
I'm very curious to know.
So in the Philippines, it's funny, we usually use pancit to describe the type of dish, which is gonna be a noodle stir fry. And then depending on the noodles used, we then put the noodle after it. So pancit bihon, pancit canton, pancit palabok. So canton, bihon, palabok are all different types of noodles that are being used.
Okay.
But specifically as well, each of those noodles has I would say, preferred preparation. So what happens in the Philippines is you don't have usually one recipe. You have a technique, and then that technique is applied to whatever ingredients can be found. And that's why with Filipino food, I always say this is my version. Because I'm sure like Singaporean cuisine, every mom has their own spin.
Yeah, definitely.
So we're starting off here with some brown onions. Filipino cuisine uses a lot of garlic. Carrots is a very key component to most pancit dishes. Fresh cabbage, just like you guys as well. These are the Bihon noodles we're using. Today we're gonna be using some chicken breast. And we love to mix and match our proteins. So we're gonna mix it with what we call a Chinese chorizo or a Chinese sausage. And then some chicken liver. So this is an optional ingredient, but I've tried it a couple of times. I find that it just adds so much depth of flavor, but I chop it up really thinly like this because I don't want, you know how people sometimes when they eat, they're like, oh no, there's, it's too much liver. So here by slicing it small, it's not as crazy.
It just adds flavor, right?
Yeah. I always start with the carrots because I like to get my carrots nice and toasted before I add in the garlic and the onions. So I'm just using some regular peanut oil here. So once that's cooked, it actually gets taken out of the pan. So some people will actually leave it in. I get the wok back up, and then I start off by rendering the fat out of the Chinese chorizo. I like to get these crispy also, take out that fat, and then I add in my chicken breast.
Looks good already.
This is something I personally do, but I don't think it's necessarily very traditional, but I like to season things as I cook them. I take out the chicken and the chorizo, but I keep the oil in there to fry off my liver. So I toast the liver a little bit before adding back in all the other proteins. At this point is where I'm gonna add some light soy sauce, some dark soy sauce like you. I'm using some dark mushroom soy here, and then a little bit of oyster sauce. I'll cook it down a little bit just to push out some of the water and then help thicken it. And then this is gonna be basically the base of our quote-unquote broth. So at this point you can add some watered down chicken stock or just some water or even some beef broth. And we bring everything back to a simmer and a bubble. So I'm just looking for things to come together and really for that, liquid to be very flavorful. And if I find that I have too much liquid, I can always remove it, keep some to the side, because this is where we're gonna cook our noodles. So this is kind of like the big difference between our two dishes. I'm gonna be cooking the noodles straight into the wok, and then gonna be adding the broth as needed to make sure I rehydrate the noodles, but I don't want this to turn into a soup either. So at this point, I'm just waiting for that broth to really cook the dish. And so hopefully it starts absorbing, hopefully some of the starch seeps out and it gets slightly thicker. So like I said, some people would actually have kept the vegetables in there at this point, but I like to keep some of that texture.
If not, it will be too soft.
So I add back my carrots, a little bit of broth as needed. So I'm just gonna keep hydrating, kind of like a risotto.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep hydrating as I go, depending on how liquid I want it. Because some people like them soupy, but I like them kind of like very almost syrupy and slurpy. Yeah, so the noodles ideally here are like completely darkened by that broth, so that flavor is really trapped in there. At this point, I add in the cabbage, and that's pretty much done. So it shouldn't be something that's like stuck together, kind of like pasta and cheese. It should still be kind of, well, it's cornstarch noodles, right? I mean vermicelli noodles. So they separate more. I garnish them with coriander. Not everyone does that. But what's one thing that's key with Filipino pancit, regardless of the type of pancit, is the calamansi. Throughout Asia and Southeast Asia, Vietnam, Thailand, they use a lot of herbs, a lot of kind of like crunchy stemmed herbs that are served whole in the dishes. But in Filipino cuisine, I think because it was never really grown here, so we don't really use a lot of herbs to finish. A lot of the greens that we use in our cuisine are boiled or blanched before being eaten. So we don't really have salads and things like that. So that's why for us, I think our reprieve for texture is the sourness from the calamansi or the vinegars. Always remove the seeds from calamansi. That's such a good dish.
It was really cool. I can totally imagine how it would taste because the noodles will absorb the soy-based sauce. Very different from ours.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to tell you. I mean, I have to probably try my dish by pre-soaking and see if there's a difference and if the difference is like super noticeable. I feel like in cuisines like Singaporean food or Filipino food, a lot of things we do is because it's passed down from generations.
Yeah.
But you don't necessarily, challenge it and just say, hey, let's try this differently and see if maybe something will change, right? It's just because we learned this way from our mom, so we'll just keep doing it, right?
It's the same. But I always try to challenge sometimes too because there may be better ways to cook different things.
How do you feel people react to Singaporean food when you do things slightly differently?
Actually, our viewers are pretty okay with it because they're quite acceptive of change in Singapore because I think a lot of people know that there's no fixed recipe, but we also have cases where people are unhappy that we did things differently, but we always tell people that's our version of it. Like, so we never say that, oh, this is the most authentic Xing Zhou Meatmen or anything like that.
If there was one dish you think people should try to make at home if they want to experience the flavors of Singapore, what dish do you think that would be?
I think they should try the chili crab.
Chili or black pepper? There's always kind of like that discussion which is best.
I'm a chili crab guy.
Yeah, same. Just when it's like super sticky and they usually use, is it ketchup? They use ketchup, right?
It's actually a ketchup base. And then the important part is the egg.
Perfect. Yeah, that's it, man. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much.